just going to get it. Jason's got it.
Silence or silence?
Yes. That would be wonderful. Okay. I'm going to call this meeting of the Pi Kappa Phi Alpha Rho Alumni Chapter Board of Directors meeting to order. Jordan, would you mind starting with prayer, please? Sure. Everyone can stand up. And guys, if you could move in. Oh, man, I can't reach. Come on, we can do it. Step over.
Ready to back ahead. Honorable Archon, thank you for having us today in Morgantown and leading us back to this time of fellowship and brotherhood and this business meeting today. Please allow us to move expediently through our processes today, and we're happy to be in Morgantown. Amen.
Thank you. Please bear with us. Those of you that are on the call, if you can hear, I don't know if John's going to be able to deliver.
Can you hear us, John?
Can't hear John. John, just if you can hear us, and if you don't mind, just if the best you can, just take minutes while we do it. Before we get started, I would like to recognize our two chairman emeritus, Eric and Mike. If you guys could come up here, please. One of the things that we did in the new Constitution and bylaws was establish chairman emeritus for exemplary service to the Alpha Rho Alumni Chapter over the years. And Eric and Mike have been recognized for what they've done for our fraternity for decades. And the amount of things that you guys have done, I just want to read what we've a proclamation. It's the Alpha Rho Alumni Chapter confers upon Michael R. Turner and Eric J. Dyson on this 16th day of April 2016 the permanent title of Chairman of the Board Emeritus in recognition for your years of dedicated service and extraordinary contribution to advance, preserve, honor the Alpha Rho Chapter of Pi Kappa Phi Fraternity. Mike, thank you. With that Chairman Emeritus, Eric would like to...
This call is denied.
I'm just going to pause for a minute. Sorry, guys. That's okay.
Now, this conference is being recorded by the organizer.
You have access code for the...
No.
Just not sure.
We're in, I'm pretty sure. John, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great, excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for a great meeting.
All right, we're done. So if you guys that are on the call could place your phones on mute, I would appreciate that. Thank you. The Chairman Emeritus title for the purposes of the Alpha Rho Alumni Chapter are intended so that we continue to recognize their years of service and for all they've done. You know, the dues, membership fees, anything along those lines. We want to welcome you guys and make sure that you know that always included, always our guests, and you always hold a very special place in our alumni chapter. So again, thank you for everything. We just wanted to make sure we recognized you. Okay, moving forward, John, would you mind calling roll, please? Taking your phone
Can you
off.
hear me?
Yes, we do.
Can you hear me?
We got it.
Thank you. First, I'm going to start with the executive board and just respond with a here present, please. First member at large, Patrick Farley.
Here.
Vice President Chief Risk Officer George Feathers.
Here.
Vice President Fundraising Craig Winkleman.
Here.
President Chief Information Officer Jason Hyatt.
Here.
President Treasurer Chief Financial Officer Patrick Folio.
Here. Present.
Second Vice President Matt Lawson. Present. Respond Langley.
Present.
Right now, I'm going to name the current active member list that I have, and again, please respond with the here present. AB 75, Bill Hughes. AB 81, Charlie Francis. AB 139, Tom Reedy. AB 239, Kenny Shaw. 253, TJ Katz. AB 316, Dave Goldberg. AB 357, Chris Shabine. AB 359, Swan Braley. 67, Ken Burko. AB 412, Eric Baldwin. AB 434, Ben Hanko. AB 452, Chris Lotanian. AB 488, Nick James. AB 494, DJ Quell. Steve Martin. That's all I have currently for the active member list, Jason. Is that up to date for you?
Yes. Do you have the proxy votes? What?
Yeah, you call my name, Lochner.
Bob Lochner.
68. President.
I'm sorry, Bob.
Yep.
I missed you.
All right.
Chris
Okay.
Denson as well.
I got him in there, okay.
Okay. The proxy votes that we received, do you have those to enter in?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll read this off to you. I won't read the voting results, but I'll read to you who I received. I received proxy votes from Charlie Francis, Doc Reedy, Eric Baldwin, Ben Hanko, Chris Costania, DJ DeQuello, and Steve Martin.
Okay. Do we have a quorum of active members?
We do have a format of active members.
Okay. Can we also enter into the record the other members that are present? I'm gonna cite them, the ones that are here, for you to enter into the notes. We have Jay Morano, C.R. Pyatt, Randy Lapsevich, Jeff Bailey, Brent Webster, and our Greek advisor and fellow PICAP, Roy Baker, are here with us present. And anyone on the phone call, Jason, that we can see, Rich Legala is on.
Somebody from New Hampshire, Portsmouth.
That's
Yeah, that's me.
Food. Thank you, Food. Is there anyone else that's on the call that we did not enter into the notes?
That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's move forward. Can we please have a reading of the minutes of the last meeting?
All right, bear with me as I read through this. I'll try to blow through pretty quick. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Anyone in the room on the call.
Go right ahead.
The regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Alpharetta Alumni Chapter was held via conference call on March 16, 2016. The meeting should be convened at 6:01 p.m. Eastern with President and Chief Executive Officer Tom Begley presiding and recording of minutes by John George. The members of the board in attendance were Patrick Farley, Member at Large, Jordan Feathers, Chief Risk Officer, Craig Winkleman, Fundraising, Jason Hyatt, Chief Information Officer, John George, Chief Communications Officer, Marty Denson, Chief Operating Officer, and Tom Begley. Others in attendance were Ken Burko, Kevin Kaiser, and Jerry Kristen. Board members not present were Patrick Folio and Matt Wasso. Previous meeting minutes were for motion to cancel. Officer reports, member at large. Patrick asked Tom if he had some Delta Epsilon pictures and information for the alumni, history project. Tom mentioned sending express mail of some stuff that he had on Thursday, March 17th. Mentioned a large portion of history has been compiled so far, and Patrick reminded participants on the call of the complete history compilation that's underway for the importance of our true history. Chief Risk Officer, the member apparel has been sent to those who have contributed at that point. The fundraiser report, Craig indicated that we should be able to get a couple hundred alumni to at least get $50 for the alumni chapter. Reminders, calls, and contacts. Craig has requested some assistance to start calling fellow era alumni. Tom has an alum in mind to help, and we'll reel that person later after confirming that person's interest. Craig has asked to contact them offline with some documents and other items recently found, and they include some photocopies of past fee charting information. Additionally, a photo album is in his possession, and Craig will attempt to locate amongst his possession. Chief Information Officer report. Jason urged members to RSVP online immediately for the Spring Alumni Weekend. Tom reiterates Craig will work via email and social media to get more RSVP. Jason also asked if anyone knows of a web designer who may want to assist in our website development. Secretary report, John indicated postcard was mailed with intent to drive out for alumni to our website. Postcards were mailed to 493 addresses. Unfortunately, I did not have a return address on there and could not validate some of our addresses. We'll work with Tom on presenting and collecting the proxy votes for this board meeting. And Jason indicated he was able to set up a direct email for proxy votes. The financial officer report, that was from Patrick via a correspondence through Tom, and the balance in the checking account at the time was $6,676.71. Some of the upcoming expenditures were the Spring Alumni Weekend, the ability experience, and Supreme Chapter attendance by both Tom and Matt Laughlin. Chief Operating Officer report. Barney mentioned that the Strategic Planning Committee is investigating a period of time back to the 90s to identify where things may have gone wrong, and ultimately led to the recent closing with the goal that it doesn't happen again. Michael Turner and Eric Dyson is assisting with providing information. Luke is reaching out to the national office to get an impression of the chapter over the years. An executive summary type report will be presented at the April board meeting. Tom mentioned other interviews have taken place to learn more, including past archons. Also, Crystal White and Amy has also been interviewed from a local and national sorority perspective. Executive Vice President report. Matt was not present, however, Tom indicated that Matt was working on the Spring Alumni Weekend festivities. And Tom also mentioned that he's looking into technology to video conference the meeting for those who can't be in attendance. A teleconference call will definitely be available. Other options are being explored. Friday night, Mario's Fishbowl basically is on your own. Saturday morning, 10 to 12:30, the board meeting, the Mountain Lair, 12:30 to 4 free time, and then 4 the baseball game versus K-State with cocktails and hors d'oeuvres at the Crayon Hotel from 7 to 9. A room block is the Crayon Hotel, formerly Hotel Morgan. The Chief Executive Officer report. Tom asked call participants to continue to get other members and board members to contribute to grow budget. That's all I got on that side. Other reports, there were no other committee reports. We do have a standing future undergrad and other important items note, and that's to ensure that some form of Alpha Rose newsletter is added back into the undergrad responsibilities when we return to campus. New business, budget for the fiscal year 17 proposal and discussion. Tom did present the document via the Uber conference screen sharing views. There are some fixed expenses that are required, like Supreme Chapter for the President, Executive VP, other item and commitment disability experience, which we set at $1,000 minimum annually. Of course, there's some smaller annual operating expenses for each officer. There are regional annual alumni events that are posted, as well as upfront money for some of the 40th anniversary event in the future. Very little of the expenses are discretionary, and much time was put to keep it low, but understand the long-term commitment to bring our chapter back with the correct resources. Patrick probably asked about AT being 501c3 status in some portion. I'll mention the status restrictions in some of our funding initiatives that we will consider when the undergraduate chapter is established back on campus. Tom listed the active annual membership dues upcoming year. If 100 members, if 100 of our 600 would do a minimum of $200, we would meet our budgets. And then for discussion, motion to table the next meeting is annual spring board meeting, presented by Patrick Farley and seconded by Jason Hyatt, not opposed. I may have messed that statement up there, but the nominations for board of directors are open. Nominations will be taken until Saturday, April 9th, 2016. Anyone can be nominated to hold office if you are a member in good standing, whether active or inactive. However, inactive members may not vote. Tom nominated each of the following officers: Patrick Farley, member at large; Jordan Feathers, Chief Risk Officer; Craig Winkleman, Fundraising; Jason Hyatt, Chief Information Officer; John George, Chief Communications Officer; Patrick Folio, Treasurer; Chief Financial Officer; Chris Benson, Chief Operating Officer; and Matt Rockley, Executive Vice President. All of those members accepted. And Patrick Farley nominated Tom Begley for President, Chief Executive Officer, and Tom accepted. Again, additional nominations will be taken until Saturday, April 9th. Term is for 2 years, from spring 16 to spring 2018. Promise I'm going to open floor for members in good standing. It's open to all members wishing to discuss any topic. Greg, thanks Tom for all he is doing to keep us moving forward. Tom asked what we could do to spice up the call with beef and cheese or other items. Tom also thanks Governor Jerry for calling in. Patrick asked how the couch burning started in Morgantown, gave a history lesson, and I hope I didn't mess this up. He then provided a historical account that the first couch burning happened in 77 at a WVU pick game, with a tied score of 4 seconds, and WVU kicked the winning field goal to win. The old stadium field was rushed, and the fans walked the sunny side, and it 4 couches burned in celebration. So I close on that, Patrick?
Close enough.
You can discuss that later.
I can smell the couch burning.
The next conference call meeting was scheduled for today in Morgantown, and then the motion was motion to adjourn the meeting, second by Patrick Farley, with no opposition, and the meeting ended at 7:05. That concludes the meeting of the reading of the minutes from March 16, 2016.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Without any objections, we're going to enter those minutes into our record. Any objection? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. Thank you very much. Okay, next, I would like to take a minute to introduce to you, we've got a guest with us, Dr. Roy Baker, who is now taken over as the Associate Dean of Students and Director of Greek Life here at WVU. We learned that when Dr. Baker was coming on, that he was also a member of Pi Kappa Phi from the University of Virginia, correct?
Close enough.
I'm sorry.
Close enough.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, good. Excellent. Roy has come to us with a lot of experience. He was the director of Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life at Penn State. He also had time at Syracuse and Bucknell in this. So we're very fortunate to have Roy here with us. I asked Roy to come in and give us a state of affairs of what's taking place with the Greek system. We're going to touch on a lot of the history of the Greek system during the strategic planning committee. But I wanted Roy to come in and just talk about the environment and what his plans are for going forward. So Roy, thank you again for joining us. I told Roy that we look at him first as one of our brothers, as a member of Pi Kappa Phi, and then as the director of Greek Life. We want him to participate and feel like he can join us for all of our alumni chapter activities. We welcome him for that, but we're also glad that he's here in the capacity that's in for the Greek advising. So, Roy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to explain my relationship with Pi Kappa Phi so that there is no confusion, because I attended the University of Virginia's college in Wise, which is Wise County, Virginia. When I went there, it was called Clinch Valley College of the University of Virginia. And that's where I was born, actually, in Wise. So I went, but I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, where my dad was the warden of the state penitentiary. So back then there was no child care, so he took me to work. And I ran around the penitentiary, honestly, and that was my daycare. But I also grew up in a really good, but very tough family. So when I went to college, I decided to go back to Wise County, and because it was the cheapest four-year college in the nation. It was $125 a semester, and I could afford that, so that's where I went. I had family there, but all hell fell apart. Well, as a student down there, I became involved in drugs and alcohol and all kinds of things, but I finally got my act together, and I graduated from the university, and then I was hired to be the director of housing, and then I was asked to be the director of intramurals, and then I was asked to be the director of student activities. And but we did not have fraternities there. We had one fraternity as an undergrad there, and it was Phi Sigma Kappa, and everybody who got kicked out of the residence halls because of their behavior would end up going there. And so I decided I'm not going to be part of that. But as an employee at the university, at the college, I was approached one day by a group of young men who said, we'd like to start another fraternity. And I went, yeah, let's do that, and I'll help you. And that was Beta Tau Beta Chi, to be frank with you, TBX. And today, TBX is the Epsilon chapter of Pi Kappa Phi at the University of Virginia's College at Y, so they changed their name. But I was never an undergrad member. And so then I decided I was going to leave because I knew I needed to get a master's degree. So I ended up working down in Georgia at Georgia College. And again, I felt like I was a Pi Kappa Phi, but I was never a brother or never initiate. So Derwin Owen, remember that guy, right? Called the chapter and said, you need to go get a hold of Roy and get him initiated. So these guys showed up at my house or my office one morning and said, we understand you're not a brother of Pi Kappa Phi. I said, I'm not. Didn't say I was. And so I became initiated at the Epsilon Upsilon chapter at Georgia College. So isn't that crazy? I mean, I have all this relationship with all of these different chapters, but I don't ever feel like I missed anything because I felt like I got all that out of me before as an undergrad. But I became a Pi Kappa Phi, and I firmly believe in everything we believe in, and I always say I drink my Pi Kappa Phi Kool-Aid every day. And I encourage our students at WVU to start doing that too, the alcohol-free brand, of course, but they're not there yet. But let me say, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited to be at this university. I'm really excited to have a chance to work with Gordon Gee. And this guy is an absolute rock star all over the nation. And I don't think I've ever worked on a campus where I have felt more supported by the president and the people that I work with. But I'm also going to tell you, I've probably never worked on a campus where I have felt less supported by the students. They are vicious, absolutely vicious, and I'm not exaggerating. A GoFundMe account has already been created to Al Roy Baker from WVU. I don't know if any money's in it. I thought I might donate some of it. And see how big but
You're in good hands, though. Many people have been trying
to what?
To have been ousted from the university.
Oh, yeah.
They're a great company.
And the sad part is, this everywhere I go I get hired. It seems like after I got my feet wet. My career in Greek life kind of started at Bucknell when I really didn't have I was a director of Greek life at all these schools, but I really didn't. But I was also doing a bunch of other things. So I was doing what WVU has done over the years, and that's pretty much just put a Band-Aid on it. But then all of a sudden, this guy at Bucknell calls me one day, and he said, listen, we're looking for a dean of Greek life, and we heard that you might be the guy to do it. And I just went, sure, I can do that. I'll figure that out. But I became the director and the dean at Bucknell of a pretty major small school Greek system that was about 60% of the student body at the time were members of 19 fraternities and sororities. So I really got my feet wet, and that's when I somehow became known as the guy who can fix problems. And that's when I ended up at Syracuse, and I had the same issues at Syracuse for the students. Unfortunately, I spread the rumor that I had closed the Greek system at Bucknell, and I kept saying, well, did you not get on the internet and look? And that's what they're doing here, that I closed the Greek system at Penn State before I got here. But they don't know the truth of any of this. They don't know that when I arrived at Penn State, there were 3,500 members of a Greek system with 90 fraternities and sororities. You think about that, 90 chapters with 3,500 members, They all had chapter houses, 44 chapter houses. And I will never forget the first semester I was there, and I watched them do recruitment, just like I watched this group do recruitment, and they brought in 412 new members during the recruitment. And I was kind of using the Dr. Phil approach, and I walked up to him and I, well, how'd that work for you? I mean, at some point you're just going to do yourself in because you're serving alcohol, you're taking them to strip clubs, you're sending a message that if you want to be a good student here, this is not the place for you to be. And so 412 members in 48 fraternities. And so they divided it down. They realized, well, they said, well, what do you think we should do? And I said, well, we need to eliminate alcohol. We need to get the women out of our houses during recruitment. We need to do it right. Send a message that this is a place that is going to be selective, and that we're going to find the best of this student body. And of course, their answer was, well, this will never happen. This will never work. Nobody will want to be a member of the Greek system if we're not liquoring them up. And I said, well, it's up to you. You choose. And so they said, well, we'll try. And that next semester, we brought in 1,500 new men. And I will remember vividly the IFC walking in my office, and they just sat down and they said, okay, what else can we do? Because you're right. And that's why I appreciate the fact that you admit that. And that's what's happened here, by the way. We eliminated alcohol this semester. We told the women they can no longer wear our letters during recruitment. That's what they're doing here. They were making the sororities buy the men's recruitment shirts, and those women are wearing those shirts on this campus. And my answer is, you don't even know what those letters mean. You have no right to wear my letters or anybody else's letters. And also, by the way, you're not letting them wear your letters. But the guys, it was a fundraising thing for them. So they asked them to stop doing that, to stop bringing women up to the chapter houses. And we brought in 120, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a big number for the spring semester. And every one of those boys had at least almost a 3.0 or higher. The Mountaineer guy, you know, the guy that, Michael Garcia, he joined the fraternity. He's a senior, and he joins a fraternity this semester. So I asked him why, and he said, Roy, you just need to understand, I wanted to be a part of this community. I just didn't want to be a part of this community. And now I do, because I know there's going to be change here, and it's going to be good. And I'm honored by that kind of stuff, because this is the guy we wanted, those types of kids. So we also, by the way, recruited only students with a 2.5 GPA or higher. But what I've inherited here is probably the biggest mess I think I've ever seen from any Greek system. I mean, the destruction of our fraternity houses, the hazing, the drugs, the complete, absolute abuse of alcohol, sexual assaults, the attitude toward women. I mean, it's just been amazing. But the good news is I begged them. I said, let me come to your chapters and talk to you. And I'm going to use Sigma Nu as a really good example. These boys, Sigma Nu, and the IFC president is Sigma Nu, and one of the two vice presidents on the IFC are Sigma Nus. For some reason, those three people could not get the message over to the chapter. You know why? Because they would come to a room like this, and they're on these the whole time, not paying attention. And no matter what the president or any of those guys said, their answer was, well, Baker is here to ruin the Greek system. So I finally was invited to a chapter meeting. And the advisors, one of their advisors is a guy named Ron Justice, who used to be the mayor of if I say State College, please forgive me, because I lived there for a long time, where I live in Morgantown. And Ron said, listen, I'll come to the meeting because they may be a little ugly. And I just said, well, okay, let them be ugly. I don't care. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But I went in and I just talked to them about what I wanted to do here and what the president's vision of this university and our vice president, he's new. And they all just sat there. And I told them how good they did during recruitment. And they did. They were amazing during recruitment. They got 13, 14, 15 pledges, which nobody had gotten that number here in a long time in the spring semester. And they just sat there, and I said, do you have any questions? And they asked me questions. And then that night, after I left, I got 18 emails from brothers. And then the next day, my office, it was like a chapter meeting with Sigma Nu in my office. They kept coming, saying, thank you for coming last night. We now understand what you're trying to do. We are on board with you. We're ready to be part of this culture change. And I thought, well, wasn't that odd how they were so angry and the life was over, that then they turned right around that easily by just simply saying to them, guys, the party in West Virginia is not over. But the kind of party, the frequency of the parties, and the flat out decision not to follow any risk management guidelines here is over. So we're going to have great parties here. We are a social group system, but we're also going to do major community service. We're going to do major philanthropy. We're going to do educational programming. We are going to be good neighbors in Morgantown for the very first time in a long, long time. And everybody said, well, that's not unreasonable. And that was so funny to hear that language, because at Penn State, before I got there, they created a strategic plan, and it was called the minimum and reasonable standards, which I hated, because I hate for somebody to tell me something minimum and reasonable. Let me decide that. And that's exactly what these boys did here. They went, well, that's reasonable. You're not asking us to do anything unusual. And then when they got those 13, 14, I think it might have been 15 pledges, that's when they said, well, maybe this is working. And even their new member educator, not their educator, their recruitment chair contacted me, and he is a former IFC president from WVU. And he came to the door and he said, I just wish you'd been here 2 years ago when I was IFC president, because I wanted to do some of these things, but they wouldn't listen to me. Nobody would listen. Well, that sounds great, doesn't it? But then we still have chapters. We have KA, we have Sigma Chi. Sigma Chi is dealing with a pretty ugly sexual assault right now, where they had 3 kegs in the house, all kinds of liquor, all kinds of people that should not have been there. Not students at WVU, but just people. You got SAE who's just pissed at me because they got moved out of their chapter house that they were living in because Delta Tau Delta wanted the house back. And I said, well, I didn't do it. And their answer was, well, you're part of the university, so we're mad at you. Of course, now they want that house back, now that Delta Tau Delta is leaving. And I told them, you're not going to get that house back. You don't shoot the finger at me for 5 months when I didn't do anything. And now I get this house back. And so they sent this guy over yesterday to have a long chat with me. And I said, your little suit that you're wearing right now is not impressing me at all. You're supposed to be the true gentleman on this campus. You're supposed to be setting the standard. You've never invited me to a meeting. You never come up here and talk to me. But you sit over on that house for 5 months on the porch and day drink. That day drink is what they call it here. And you've done that despite the fact we've asked you not to. So don't come over here now and try to tell me we are a model fraternity. We've been one for 10 years. I said a model fraternity did not move into my fraternity house. Sorry, because it's not. But the one that had my letters on it, where you did so much damage to that house as soon as you walked in the door, and you're pissed, and you open the door and let anybody come there and do whatever they want to do, because I can look at your video and I can see what you've been doing over there. Probably Eric knows exactly what you've been doing over there, because you've probably been in it more than I. But this behavior on this campus is just amazing, because these students took the same oath of membership that you and I took. It meant nothing to them. It was a place to drink illegally. It was a place to use drugs, and it was a place to live. The houses are not chapter houses; they are boarding houses. That's changing here. It's going to change, not because of me necessarily. I'm just going to get them in that direction, because I know for a fact. Let's just say let's just break it down to a smaller number. There's 1,000 members of our fraternities here at WVU, and I am totally convinced that 800 of them want it to be right. But that 200 are the ones that are being vocal, that are creating the FundMe accounts, that are creating the Twitter accounts, that are spreading the rumor that I closed the Greek system at WVU or at Penn State and did it at Syracuse, and just doing whatever they can while the other 800 stand by and do nothing but go, well, that's not true. But then they don't tell anybody. So we got to get people to start standing up here and saying the truth. Say, let me tell you what Roy Baker did at Penn State. I left there with 9 fraternities. I started with 89. I also left with 7,500 members, and I started with 3,500 members. We also are I think one of the best Greek systems in the nation. We raised $50 million. I did for every fraternity on that campus to renovate chapter houses. My job at Penn State was to raise money for the fraternities. So I can help you with that too. But they need to understand the truth. Yes, they couldn't party 7 days a week, which is what they were doing here. They can't just serve alcohol constantly. I know these kids are going to buy alcohol. I know they're going to drink it. I know they're going to do it underage, and I don't care because I can't stop them. But they can do it safely. They can. The drugs have got to go. Got to go. There's no place on this campus in these fraternities and sororities for drugs. And we have to start educating our pledges properly. We need to start holding ourselves accountable, which we are now doing. But these students right now on IFC who are doing just an amazing job, they are just getting hammered unmercifully by their peers. And so I realized, I thought about that. I said, I forgot about that. That was going to happen. Because remember, I was the director at Penn State on Friday, and then on Monday I was here, and I was still in that mode. I had to step back and say, I need to go help these kids and encourage them and help them understand you're going to get abused. And so that's what we're now doing. And so now I've got an amazing IFC group that have bonded together, and now they're going to stand up. They've already had over 50 conduct reviews of fraternities here. Isn't that crazy? 50 in 5 weeks, or actually 3 weeks, because they took because they took office in January. They're drinking the Kool-Aid. And that's the new phrase here. They look around and go, you're just drinking Baker's Kool-Aid. And they're like, yep, we sure are. We sure the hell are. And I asked everybody on this campus to drink their own Kool-Aid and also drink West Virginia University's Kool-Aid, because they have got to stop beating up this university. But you all know who came to school here. We got students who came to school here who should not be in college, period. And also who came here for one reason, that was to party, because they think we're the #1 party school in the nation. And I've helped them understand, and I've been talking to them about it, is don't want that designation. Your diploma will mean nothing. And a lot of them look at me and go, man, I mean, you watch them. I go to chapter meetings and they all just sit there and go, wow, that makes so much sense. And then they'll just start talking to you. They realize if they knew the truth that we are going to be a model Greek system in the future, we're going to be, I think, a lot larger than we've been in a long time. We may lose some of those fraternities. That's fine, because I've got a bunch of fraternities, including us, that's going to come back and be a part. Phi Psi is beating the door down, or they want to come back. Beta Theta Pi wants to come back. So I don't care if T doesn't want to come back or doesn't want to do what we're asking. They can shut it. I told them the other night, I said, there's only 3 letters on the house. It's the only designation here. You're not doing anything else. They were up there the other night, and a university policeman was called to the Phi Psi house, Phi Sig house. They called for assistance, and he went over there, and the T boys started throwing beer bottles at the police officer, yelling, "Fuck the police."
Oh.
Yeah. And so when I reach out to every one of them yesterday, well, you must be misunderstood, Dr. Baker. I accidentally kicked this beer bottle off the court.
Yeah.
Bull. Bull.
Yeah.
Just comes out of your mouth.
Well, exactly. And then they come up running. So I said, I want to know who did it. I don't want any more of this garbage. You tell me who did it. It's just not, you're not going to do this anymore. But that's the mentality on this campus. And this attitude of day drinking, where just because it's pretty outside like now, they just show up and they just start drinking beer. And then they text their friends and they start showing up. I guess a couple weeks ago, we had just hundreds of kids at the Theta Chi house, at the KA house, and at the Phi Sigma Kappa Sigma house. And it was just hundreds and hundreds of kids drinking. So the IFC stepped in. They fined Phi Sig $1,300. Theta Chi is currently on social probation. And of course, so is KA. And they said, well, I'll never forget this comment that Sam Hudson, the IFC president, said to me one day. He said, Dr. Baker, I don't understand how these fraternities are going to start doing what we tell them to do. And if we fine them $1,500, what's going to cause them to pay it? And I went home that night just flabbergasted by that, because I came back the next day and I said, Sam, that's just the way it is. I don't know what else to say. They will pay the fine or they will not be here. It's that simple. And so they all pay the fine. And so IFC now has money. Isn't that funny? They had no money when they got here. They weren't paying their dues. Brothers aren't paying their dues. You all went through it, right? As the chapter here. And then those guys that were in this fraternity are sitting over there right next to the SAE house, just being nasty. They're throwing they connected with the AZD women that they got kicked out of AZD, and so now they are over at that house throwing bottles, beer bottles at the AZD house. And then they're throwing bottles at the Pi Cap house or the SAE house, or they show up on the front porch, you know, pound their chest. But of course, I ran into one Pi Kappa Phi because he was wearing our letters, and I walked up to him and I said, "Are you a Pi Kappa Phi?" Yeah. I went, "No, you're not." I said, you don't even know the answer to that question. So I don't appreciate you wearing my letters. Because you're not. I don't think you might think you are, but you're not. But you know what, guys? The same thing happened at Penn State. And I was there for 8 years, and I worked with the Penn State chapter for 8 years. I bought him a bell. I bought him ritual equipment. I taught him how to do it. I supported him. And then 2 years ago, they had every spring there, they have a thing where all the seniors go out to the bar. It's a bar crawl, and all the boys had a shirt on that said "Fuck Roy Baker." And they were walking around campus or downtown. Well, they got closed last year. I didn't close them. National headquarters and the Alumni Corporation that I have a very good relationship with. So that, you know, it's happening everywhere. We've got to get our kids to stop joining these fraternities, believing that it's a place to drink alcohol until you're 21, and it's a place where you don't have any responsibilities, you don't take care of your house, you don't honor your fraternity. I always tell our students here, we have one job. You have one job as a student at WVU when you join one of the fraternities, and that is to protect that chapter. It's got to be here 20 years from now because you did your job for the 3.5 years you're part of this community. And a lot of the kids are, that's right. You know, so I think there's a lot of excitement on this campus, but at the same time, we're not getting a lot of positive excitement because of the negativity. So I brought you some copies of some documents that I thought you would enjoy or would like to know and be a part of and see today. I want you guys probably understand this, but when I got here, and I knew this was the way it's going to be, but there was nothing in place. There was no Office of Greek Life. There was no staff. I didn't even know who the presidents were. I didn't even know if I asked for a roster. I couldn't get it. What they were doing here was they had a roster, and any time the kid had bad grades, they would come up and kick him off the roster so that his GPA would be included. Eric's just laughing. He's like, all these years. And so my very first experience with them, I'm like, what are you taking these guys off? And, well, we suspended them. I'm like, no, you didn't. And it doesn't work that way. The phrase is, they've gone inactive. And I go, well, there's no such thing. You know, there is simply no such thing. The women were doing it, but we got all that fixed, I think. What I'm going to give you here is a copy of a document that every college and university in the country has. It's basically called a statement of relationship between the university and fraternities and sororities. Did someone not get a copy? Oh, I'm sorry. That was the here's one. They're all different?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I screw up?
Somebody failed to collate properly.
Okay, you keep that one too. That's one. Oh, that's. Okay. What else have I got? Here's a copy. Here's a copy. Y'all have one?
Yeah, what's your
Stadium. We can add another stool for the parents, which we did at Penn State. We also added another leg to the stool, and that was the community. So we're going to establish this relationship. It's been kind of interesting at WVU to reach out to the alumni anytime we have a communication with the chapters. And the alumni have just been like, wow, this is so cool that we're learning what you're doing and we understand when our guys mess up. But also, we also have been told when they do good things. I'll give you an example. We were asked by the university that every member of the Greek community here participate in Title IX training. So the university mandated that all Greeks and all athletes had to participate in Title IX training. And so I was brought over and they asked me, and I said, well, we can do that. We set up a session. And we decided that only 80% of every chapter had to attend. But if you wanted to bring more, you could. Well, Delta Tau Delta shows up with 96%. And it was probably the best program I think the presenters had ever had. These guys showed up, they were engaged, and that's what I'm trying to say about this chapter. We've read a lot of negativity about the chapter, but they're not a bad group of guys. But when I first got here, they were heading in the same direction as everybody else, but we pulled them back real fast and said, this is not acceptable. By the way, if you want to see this video, if you haven't already seen it, that they showed me and created, I had it with me. And you can watch it. And that way you'll see what everybody's, if you haven't seen it, what everybody's upset about. But these are really decent kids. And I think they could be very helpful to the changing the culture concept on this campus. So I actually took photographs of them and I put them on our Facebook page and I sent it to their national headquarters. And of course, all of a sudden I became a hero to this chapter. They're like, damn, somebody finally is recognizing the good things because nobody wants to talk about that. And then yesterday, or excuse me, Thursday, I had to speak to the Board of Trustees or Board of Governors here at WVU. And during the session, the University Provost was in the room and she raised her hand and she told everybody, President Gee was sitting there, that about this mandate for everybody to participate in Title IX training, that all the Greeks have finished the training already, but they can't get the athletes to show up. And I'm just sitting there, trying to stay calm, but I'm just going, yes, we need that kind of stuff. And I looked over at her and she goes, you and I need to talk. And I said, yes, man, we sure as hell do. But then you tell the students that, then they start getting it, like, oh. And then the beauty of all of this was that students would say to me, of course, we assess the program, how was it? And it was a damn good program, 45 minutes. And the guys would say, that's not what I expected it was going to be. It was really good. I learned a lot. And that's what this has got to all be about. We've got to, like I did at Penn State, the students at Penn State would call me or write me an email and say, what are you going to do next? Because I just love to just get as crazy as I possibly can and create the craziest ideas and let them think about it. I mean, we did a thing at Penn State called Greek Retreat. And every Halloween, we started turning our fraternity houses into a place where the families in State College could bring their kids for trick or treat. Can you imagine 44 fraternity houses? And they were all for children. They were like little fun houses, and they had face painting, and just, of course, all the sororities got involved too, because they didn't have houses at Penn State. So they would pair up, and it got to a place where Halloween would get close, and people would call, is there Greek Retreat this year? And the fraternities finally went, damn, that was amazing. We also did a program called Neighbor to Neighbor, where we connected a fraternity with a neighbor that lived in State College that could be next door or down the street, because they all hated us. I will describe the Delta Tau Delta at Penn State, a lady and the gentleman who lived next door, amazingly young couple with 5 children. They were constantly calling the police. So I went to them and I said, would you be their neighbor? And the goal was for the fraternity to provide whatever they needed. They would clean their gutters, mow their grass, shovel their snow, do whatever the family needed. The family would invite the executive board over for dinner, whatever. And so all of a sudden, this family completely changed. Those are the nicest guys. And I remember when, toward my time at Penn State, when Delta Tau Delta was having a recruitment event, and they were playing this pretty ugly music, how the music they like today. the lyrics, and one of the brothers went, well, wait a minute. We got children living next door. We got to turn that shit off. But they said it. They did it. Wasn't that amazing? You know, that they made that decision. And so and she became one of our sorority advisors. She was a Kappa, or is a Kappa Gamma. So she got on. She drank the Kool-Aid, you know. And so I would talk to her, and she'd go, boy, those guys are just amazing. And now we don't have any issues with them. We know when they're having parties, they think about that there's a family, and that family then had a name. And that's what happened. Every fraternity had a family. We're going to do that here. We've got to have a relationship on this campus. And this is the beginning of how to have that relationship, and talking about the expectations of recognition, and that they all must be national fraternities and sororities. We're moving to deferred recruitment because Dr. Gee made that decision before I got here. Of course, I'm taking the heat for it because I brought it. I go, no, I did not. And I don't want to throw him under the bus, but it is what it is. We're going to do better with new member education. We're not going to be a hazing chapter. We're going to have higher grades. Right now, our cumulative GPA here is 2.6. That is not even close to where it should be. The men at Penn State were 3.12. The women were 3.47 cumulative. And here the men are 2.6 because they've allowed the bottom of the barrel to join. And they haven't even looked at the grades. Delta Tau Delta had 18 pledges or members, they're a colony, that did not even have a 1.0 GPA. 18. Well, they're gone now. I told them, I said, they got to go. You don't give them a break. You don't say, well, we'll give you another semester. I said, they could get a 4.0 this semester. Their grade point average is going to go up to where they're eligible. So those guys are gone. And they've also kicked the guy who made the video out instead of saying, well, he's a great guy. Well, no, he's not. But he had a 3.7. But he sold his soul for MTV. He was trying to get on that MTV show, and he will get on it. You will see him on it. You watch. And he'll make about $150,000 doing it. But he's no longer going to be in the degree system because they kicked him out. For real. All of them are going to have a certificate of liability insurance of $2 million. They're all going to have advisors that are active. We're going to help them manage their finances. And they're going to be involved in a chapter accreditation program, that's like we did at Penn State, where they will be evaluated every year. And when I showed the chapter accreditation program to the fraternities, again, they went, oh, I was laughing because they went, that's it? This is it? Like that? And I went, yes. It doesn't have to be ugly. We want to know, are you raising money for your national philanthropy? Are you doing community service? Not for the sororities, but are you doing community service for the community in Morgantown? Are you educating your pledges properly? Are you using your national ritual? Do you have a relationship with your national headquarters? Do you have a relationship with your alumni? Do you have a plan to host a party? With a very clear upfront decision and saying to them, I know you're going to buy alcohol, I know you're going to serve underage people, but do you have a plan on how to do that properly? It's something as simple as, I told this one fraternity, I said, all you got to do is you don't give a beer to a kid at the bar unless they bring an empty one to you. And this fraternity came in and went, that's the most incredible thing I ever thought of. And they start telling me why that would be appropriate. It stops all the trash being all over the place. It stops people from setting a full beer down and then coming just to get in a new one. They said, it works. Yes, it works. And I've never said you can't drink alcohol. I've never said I know you're underage and you can't drink alcohol. You're not supposed to, but I know it's going to happen. But nobody will know it's happening if you don't have any problems, right? And I said, I went up to Sigma Chi and I said, how did you get caught here? This was another issue. I said, how did you get caught? This kid goes, we were being stupid. And I said, exactly. And so it's like they'll get it if you just have a chance to talk to them. So this is our first document. Then the other document that I probably started handing out, I didn't mean to, but that's okay, is, if I can get to it, is our strategic plan, and I thought you might be interested in that, if you already have it. So, that's I firmly believe that we can't move forward if we don't have a plan. That's so important, right? You have a plan, we're gonna have a plan here at WVU. And this is our plan. And President Gee called me over and said, tell me what your plan is. So I gave him this document. I gave him our chapter accreditation program. I gave him our statement of collaboration. And then I gave him probably one of the most important documents, which is, thank you, which is the conduct program that the IFC adopted. And, you know, of course, if you think President Gee's not paying attention, he writes me back maybe 3 or 4 days later, and he has like 20 questions. Dave, he read it, and I answered every one of those questions, and then he wrote back and said, this is exactly the direction we should be going in. So all of a sudden, it became law, like I say, at WVU. It's called the Plan for Prominence in Greek Life at West Virginia University. It outlines, I think, 44 initiatives that some of which we're already moving in that direction. But it's basically, in summary, it's summarized just exactly what I'm saying. We can be an amazing Greek system. We can be well respected in the community. We can raise a lot of money for good causes. We can do great community service. We can earn our keep.
No, I'm just asking you to put it into the record.
And you know, and then people will stop being so critical of us when we do have a misstep. When someone does do something stupid, it won't be the top news. But again, you know, we've got to work hard to make sure the good news is out there because nobody wants to see that. And I do have another video I'd like you to see. Would you mind? Do you do it? Okay. The IFC bought a drone. They keep the